Okay, we're live on Facebook. All right, technology. So, hey everybody, welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast. This is the live listener broadcast show. This is your show. So, there's a number at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to call in and join the conversation. Today with me on the line, I have Chad Sylvester with Exodus Trail Cams. They're out of Ohio. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to jump on here and chat a little bit. This is, as we talked a little bit earlier, this is the first for a live broadcast, but it's a pretty cool concept. So excited to see where the caller conversation takes us.
Yeah, same. Why don't we start off by just having you introduce yourself to the audience?
As you said, my name is Chad Sylvester. I am co-founder, co-owner of Exodus Outdoor Gear, which is essentially Exodus Trail Cameras. We started this company back in 2015 really out of a necessity of what we were going through as consumers, just being frustrated from jumping from brand to brand and not having just experiencing failure with products and then not really having a company willing to go the extra mile to back their products up or service their products. So it's essentially frustration, I guess, is where the idea of Exodus was really born. But prior to that, my background is in civil engineering and telecommunications. Grew up in a pretty rural area. I had a chance to go to college, pursue a Division I athletic career, and then never really wanted to pursue a normal 9 to 5. Always had an entrepreneurial mindset. Come from a family of businessmen, I should say. So sitting in an office every day working for the man just never really fit my style. So when the idea of Exodus came to be, it was really a no-brainer for me to kind of jump in feet first and sink or swim.
So your background in civil engineering and what was it, network?
Telecommunications, telecom. So I worked for an A&E firm that managed build-out projects for Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and some smaller regional carriers, across the United States. So that span took me, I guess it was 3 or 4 years, and actually was still working there while we started Exodus, and then as the company started to scale a little bit, I took the endeavor to go full time here.
That's wild, man. That's from an entrepreneurial standpoint. That's one huge question as to how to make that proverbial leap and jump into that boat, before it's so close to the dock. My hat's off to you on making that leap, man. That's incredible for starters.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about being practical. When you can replace your income from your whatever that entrepreneurial business pursuit is, then you take the leap. I think sometimes people get too ambitious and maybe overzealous, and you take that leap a little bit early, and then it can cause all kinds of, obviously, financial stress, personal stress at home. So as long as you're practical about it, it makes that leap a whole lot safer, easier.
Yeah, no, that's the practicality of it is the right way to go. It's I like that topic because that's something I'm trying to do currently, with the podcast, and we have an app and all that too. So to me, that's really actually very interesting. I could spend probably a whole show on just that. But we'll segue into like the product design. The one reason I reach out to you, to Exodus was, first of all, you guys aren't that old in the marketplace. You're 5 years young, or not even. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. We launched in 2015. The idea was actually born in 2014, which halfway through 2014, the concept of the first product was being conceptualized, but we actually did not come to market till 2015. So May next month would mark our 4-year anniversary in the marketplace.
Wow. And so, in where you're sitting right now, I did change the video, FYI, for those watching and for yourself. there was getting some audio feedback and like a endless echo. So before I did switch that a moment ago, your background, like your Exodus out, you got the hat, the shirt, the antlers in the back, the wall painted Exodus, like your ability to have made such a splash in the hunting community with such a great product, from a marketing standpoint, it's super polished and it comes off great. But that being said, the product market fit and the product design behind what you actually have, solving that problem that you recognized, has clearly made an impact. Mm-hmm. There's very few people that do not know your name. So maybe talk about that just a little bit insofar as like, how did you guys come to be such a force in such a small amount of time?
Well, the baseline or the heart of that is the business model. Being consumer direct, being able to leverage e-commerce and the power of the web, not only for advertising and brand awareness, customer acquisition, all of that. It allows us to be a lot more cost competitive when you're looking at some of the larger brands and how they're spending their ad budget. So by being consumer direct, not only leveraging the e-commerce and the web, it allows us just to simply spend more money on the physical product to produce a better product, and then being able to retail them straight from us with no middleman allows us to stay cost competitive. And that is the sole reason we're able to offer a 5-year warranty, to have the hardware components and the design of our physical product to exceed 60 months lifespan, and then being able to service the end customer and not a box store, and really keeping our finger on the pulse of what the consumers are using, what they need, what problems they have, and then take that feedback in and continue to grow our product lineup as we have the last 4 years.
So as far as where people can actually get your product, for those that don't know, and to me, honestly, I think that's a very select few. But when you say direct to consumer, quite literally, is online the only place then where people can actually buy the product?
That is correct. So we have 3 sales channels. The primary sales channel for Exodus is our website, exodusoutdoorgear.com. We are an authorized seller on Amazon Marketplace. So you can also purchase our products on Amazon. And then we do also travel during Q1, Q2, and then maybe a couple of shows throughout the summer where we're going to consumer trade shows and physically selling to consumers, allowing them to touch and feel the product, see the people behind the brand, and have some hands-on exposure with not only the product but also the branding behind the company.
That's awesome. So the hands-on comes from the trade shows, things of that nature. How many of those do you go to a year?
This year we haven't gone to very many. I think that we've only gone to three shows this year, which we have 2 more on the docket. Earlier, as we were trying to scale and grow our brand awareness and kind of gain a small piece of the pie or market share, we were going to anywhere from 14 to 18 shows a year. Wow. So, typically those shows are 3 or 4 days long, plus a day or 2 travel. There is the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg at the beginning of February is actually 9 days long, and it's by the time you get there, set up, tear down, travel time, it's almost a 2-week endeavor. So it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time away from the family.
Yeah, it is. That's it's quite a commitment too. Like I'd stopped by we had a trade show here in Madison, Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, and I made sure to wear my Crocs. People are like making fun of me. I'm like, bro, if you're gonna go to a trade show, you better have some comfortable freaking shoes. You're gonna be standing all damn day.
Yeah.
So I don't know how your Croc game is when you go to these shows, but that's gotta be in your arsenal.
That's funny, man. That's a good tip for anyone. I know every year before Harrisburg, like I said, it's 9 or 10 days long. Every year I'm buying a new pair of running shoes, like a new pair of Nikes, new pair of Under Armour running shoes, just because I know I'm gonna be on my feet for whatever 12 hours a day, 10 days straight.
Because you can't sit down, because then you're going to look like you're gaffing off. Like you want to be engaged with the people that are coming by to check out your product. You got to be standing on your feet to show it off. It's funny.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot behind sales psychology, especially when it's in person with the people buying your product. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, direct to consumer only. I love it. It makes a lot of sense. If you want to get your hands on the product, do you guys list the trade shows that you do go to on your site so people know when and how they can, like, if they want to experience this thing, and some of the models that you have, do people know when they can, like, do people typically know when they can kind of get at one of those events?
Yeah, so usually at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of quarter one, after the ATA show, we usually list that on all of our social channels, Facebook, Instagram, and then we also send that out via our newsletter. So we've built a giant email list. It's been a very, very valuable asset, that we try to utilize to the best of our ability without spamming people. So we're always leveraging value there. So there's always updates, show schedules, product info, tips, insights, things of that nature, where people can kind of stay engaged with our brand.
That's awesome. The reason, so going back to my initial kind of question that I asked the question, then I asked like 10 other questions. It's how I roll, I guess. But the whole warranty thing is super fascinating. I spent some time reading about it. Now I'll let you kind of unravel it, and then if you want along the way, hit up how you address and deal with theft, because that is the biggest blocker for me as a public land hunter to purchase anything, because I'm so freaked out about it getting stolen in the woods because they're not cheap. So I'll let you take the show there.
Yeah, the warranty is a big deal for a lot of people, and obviously it's a big draw for. I don't want to say that's what we're known for, because I think there's more depth to our brand than just the warranty, but it's obviously the first thing that catches people's attention because no one else is doing it, or we're the first to do it. Over the last few years, you've seen other manufacturers kind of follow. I don't want to say follow in our footsteps, but there is now another trail camera company that has a 5-year warranty, and some of the larger players in the market have taken notice to what we've done and are extending their warranties as well. So it's kind of cool on that note just to see a little tiny speck of sand on the beach, if you will, this little tiny trail camera company from Ohio almost changing the industry on that end of things. But to touch on the actual service of the product, kind of before we dive into the theft side of things, we're one of only 2 trail camera companies that physically work and service cameras on the physical product. So in an event that a camera does fail inside of 5 years, which happens, there's no way around it, regardless of how well it's engineered or how well it's designed, you're going to have failures. It's just part of the game. We typically send an RMA label, which comes with a prepaid shipping label that the customer will send that camera back, and within a matter of 3 or 4 days, we will have that tested, diagnosed, repaired, or replaced and sent back to them in just a couple of days. So that's, with that warranty, the product service means a lot for a lot of people. So just want to touch on that real quick. But on the theft side of things, we looked at the marketplace, and as consumers of buying these products for almost 10 years, I had cameras stolen. I had cameras that were vandalized by trespassers, shot with shotguns, beat up by a bear, or ripped off a tree by a coon, or just dumb, stupid stuff that would happen. And all these other companies saw that as a sales opportunity because they knew it was a valuable asset. It was cool for a whitetail hunter in their arsenal, and we've almost became a little bit too dependent on them. So they saw that as a sales opportunity because they know you're going to come back and buy another one. Where we look at it, being direct to consumer, we can offer a replacement for that stolen product, or that product that was chewed up by a bear, or a product that was ran over by your truck, or whatever the heck happened to it. We offer that at cost to drive depth inside of our customer base, creating a longer, higher lifetime value of that customer.
Yep.
And it's not rocket science. It's just about people, and it's about taking care of people, taking care of the people that buy our product. That policy again, gains us a lot of attention, and people are always amazed of how we do it, but it's really pretty darn simple. We have a tracking system that we use internally where product's registered, and we know who has it, who owns it, where it is, all of that. Obviously there's a method behind the madness, but the actual, how it works is pretty simple, and it's well received and respected by, the vast majority of our customer base.
Well, you said something really interesting there, like people wonder how we do it, et cetera, et cetera. And there's probably some technology that you throw at that, and some processes and procedures and some man labor. But at the end of the day, doing the right thing is pretty easy, right? Like just simply stating like we're doing the right thing because the right thing is always the right thing. Like that, you are doing the right thing. You've taken the predation out of that industry, and that's flipped it on its head. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's about intent. What's the intentions of what's the intention behind the brand? And ours, it's very simple. It's about taking care of the people who buy our products because those people keep our lights on and feed our families. It's very, very simple.
Yeah, super simple. Well, cool. Let's switch gears then. We got some time. We're going to go till 8 p.m. Let's talk about the product and how it's engineered. Maybe not like super deep, but just in general, like what sets the actual product apart from some of the other ones on the market, other than the fact that you're beating people up like crazy on price by being direct to consumer, right, and cutting out the middleman, so to speak. And then in addition to that, the warranty stuff has got to build a ton of brand loyalty because you're doing the right thing. Let's talk about what makes these cameras tick or take pictures or whatever you want to say there.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into even just building a regular SD card camera. There's a lot of technology, and quite frankly, there's not a lot of people that really understand how they work on a high level, and rightfully so. Not a lot of people want to know. But when you're building these things, obviously it's a necessity, and the longevity side of things, a lot of it comes down to the different types of components that we buy. Again, going back to that business model, we're able to spend a little more money on components that have a longer shelf life, longer lifespan.
Yep.
And not build these things with an obsolescence mindset where you're putting hardware in that is only going to last 12 months or 24 months. We're able to use some stuff used in the automotive industry, in the medical field, and couple that with different conformal coatings on our PCB boards that, in case there were moisture ingress or anything of that nature, the actual product is protected, and the mounting and the design of the actual board allows us to do physical repairs, which, again, you're going to have failures. There's no way around it. But being able to service that product sometimes is a difference between, having to spend $100 replacing a cost of goods versus, maybe a $10 or $15 fix on just labor and, a $10 component. So the service side of things does come into play there. And then, of course, for people who are familiar and have felt our products, they're noticeably different in how they lock up, how the case is designed, how it seals, how it's closed. So while we go through the standard the IP68 testing process, which makes it water and dust resistant, all that good stuff. We use a different type of seal with a double latch and a horizontal hinge, which is no one else in the industry uses a horizontal hinge.
Submarine door, man.
With a double latch. Yeah, I mean, kind of, yeah. Again, just looking at things very simplistically, when you have a vertical hinge and a locking latch on one side, through running cameras over 10 years, you notice a considerably less amount of pressure around that O-ring or around that shield, whatever's in that camera, on one side, and it was always on the side where the latch was, where the most pressure was applied. So just using very common and simple, I guess, engineering, we were able to solve, and I don't want to say eliminate moisture ingress, but we were able to vastly reduce it, and then coupled with our conformal coatings that we use on the PCB boards, If there is any moisture, then, majority of the time that camera will still work. In fact, just last week on my Facebook page, I posted on my personal page, a customer had sent in a video, I think it was a Lift 2, of a Lift 2 model that was under, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet of water, and this thing was still taking videos.
Oh my God, shut up, really?
Yeah, and that's, again, is that going to happen every time? No, cameras are going to get flooded out. Some of them aren't going to. Some of them will fail. Some of them will get burned up. But the odds are a lot better with our product than some of the competition.
Yeah. And like you said, there's one company maybe that's kind of doing things insofar as like the warranty is concerned. Who would you classify? Maybe not say names, but are there competitors that like at what caliber of trail cam do you qualify yourself at in terms of like maybe price point? Because you guys are less expensive due to the direct to consumer model. But that being said, if that weren't the case, who would I see you next to on the shelves at like a Cabela's or a Bass Pro Shops or something to that effect?
It's hard to. I don't like to personally put our brand and pin or say that we're equivalent to another brand. I would rather have a consumer do that. But so a lot of people do repairs to Reconyx. We are a higher end quality manufactured product, which Reconyx has for a while they were the pinnacle. And when people think about high end trail cameras, that's typically the first brand that's rattled off their tongue. So you could say we are comparable to Reconyx. There are some aspects that Reconyx has us beat. And Reconyx is a great company. U.S. based, they take care of their products, they service their products. So the other company that physically works on their products, great customer service. But for a lot of people, they can't afford to spend $500 in a camera. And really, that brand was one of the reasons that kind of pushed us towards that consumer direct model. But really, the trail camera marketplace is pretty darn big, and it's very, very saturated. There's a lot of players, in the game, and a lot of these companies are, they hit multiple price points. So they'll make a $50 camera and they'll make a $250 camera. So a lot of times you can take our models, depending on which one it is, and compare it to a lot of these other brands, their upper echelon cameras. And it's going to be, specification wise, it's going to be a little bit similar. We market our products a little bit different. A lot of times you'll see other companies push kind of these made up marketing terms that really don't hold any weight or hold any value. They're just trying to sell the newest, greatest, latest thing, kind of using rebranded words, which is a turnoff from us. For us,
marketers ruin everything, man.
That's the truth.
Well, that's it's interesting. Like, I'm just trying to get a feel for kind of what you guys have on the market and how it can speak to some of the people. You guys have a couple different models. I've been kind of going back and forth, toggling between like the camera on my screen versus like actually casting the screen itself. You have, from what I can tell, 3 primary models: the Exodus Lift 2 trail camera, and then the Trek trail, and then the Exodus Rendering 4G LTE, which 5G is a whole other topic, and that's coming down the bandwagon. So that'll be interesting to see how that changes everything, let alone trail cameras. But let's maybe spend a little bit of time talking about the differences, the models that you guys have, and what features and benefits people can expect to get, and maybe what their use cases are good for.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just start at we'll start at the bottom and talk about our lowest price point camera, the Exodus Trek. Very, very basic, simple camera. It's a camera that, going through the design process, I was really turned off by, because we had built 2 cameras that were kind of category leading in certain aspects. And then the Trek was a very basic camera, 0.7 second trigger speed, about 20,000 images on a set of batteries, 720p video at 30 frames, 1080s only at 15 frames, has a 2 megapixel image sensor. So it was almost, I don't want to say a step backwards, but we weren't trying to break any barriers with that model. But it has turned out to be not only our best-selling product, but also our most reliable. The failure rate, we've been selling these things for about 15 months, and we are under a 1.5% failure rate on, thousands of units sold over the last year or so. So it's an economically priced product where people can buy 10 of them versus, buying a list 2 and only being able to buy 4 or whatnot. So for guys who want to run a lot of cameras, this has been the product that they've chosen to buy. And design-wise, we build our products around different types of scenarios. We look at static environments and dynamic environments. And we classify static environments as any area where you can dictate and control, to the best of your ability, deer movement, and know that they're going to be in a certain proximity to your camera and spend an allotted amount of time in front of that camera. So that sounds a little bit complicated, but when guys are running cameras on feeders for inventory purposes, when they're running cameras on mineral sites, when they're running cameras maybe on a scrape, those are the static environments where you can control and alter deer movement, keep them in a certain range of your camera, and also a lot amount of time. So that the Trek is designed and excels in a static environment like that, whereas the Lift 2 is more of a dynamic environment camera, a 0.3 second trigger speed, a 1 second recovery time, actually less than 1 second for photo and video. Beautiful 1080p 30 frame video, has all the bells and whistles, 2-inch viewing screen that you can actually view your photos and use it to, line that camera up. A little bit better battery life. You get about 25,000 images on a set of lithiums with that camera. And, just has just a little more feature rich, more options, a little bit easier to customize because of that 2-inch screen. And again, that is a camera that a lot of guys that are using that solely for video, just because the quality both day and night is so vibrant, and it looks so pretty, but also it allows you to just gather a little bit more information, maybe on a specific animal, which direction they're actually traveling, how they're acting, what their demeanor is when they're coming in and working the scrape or, hitting that food plot or whatnot. So static environments, the Trek, dynamic environments, the Lift 2. And then this year, the new product that we released was the Exodus Render, which, as you mentioned, was a Verizon certified 4G device, built with a mobile application and desktop portal that was created by a company called Scout Tech. So you have complete control through OTA functions of that device from your phone. It was built off the same chipset, same image sensor, processor, all that good stuff as the Lift 2. So a lot of the features and feel of the Render is very similar to the Lift 2. It's basically just sending you, photos and videos straight to your phone.
Which is a deer
hunt. So anything you can do with that
wet dream. The fact that you don't have, don't get me wrong, I'm sure we all love going out to the woods to check trail cameras, but having the ability to not have to disrupt that hunting area and trek in and trek out and trek in and trek out and be going back out there, it's a game changer for some people, man. That's a big deal. And because you guys are less expensive than most competition, even in this space, that's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, we started that project in 2017, so we've been at it for a while. We've taken our time on it, done things right on the mobile app side, because that is what really is the most intuitive and really what the customers have the most experience with after they set their camera up. It's how they interact with that product on their phone or web portal, how they're able to customize, their settings from their phones, how they can view how much data they've used, how much battery life is left, how much SD card space is left, change your settings, request status reports. I mean, it's a complicated product, but it's a very polished product because we took our time on it. And because we were able to, being consumer direct, again, going back to the business model, able to use a Cat 4 module in that on Verizon's 4G network. Right now, as far as I know, we have the fastest transmission speeds available in the marketplace. So within 25 seconds of that camera taking the photo, it's sent to your phone.
Holy shit. I mean, that's real time. I mean, it could probably get better with a 5G environment, blah, 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 but that's about as real time as it could possibly need to be at this moment in time. That's crazy.
Right.
So if
yeah, I mean, there's
the old joke of if a tree falls in the wood, is someone going to hear it? You can probably actually answer that question with your drill cam. Like, I feel like there's a parody video there that you could create. I don't know.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, maybe we'll take you up on that idea and use it in our next marketing campaign.
Right. The question that no one's been able to answer since the beginning of time. With our technology, we know the answer. Click here to find out the truth. Yeah, whatever. That's funny. That's powerful stuff, though. That's a big deal. And the fact that, like, you know, people say things in the business community. You know, I work for a tech company, so I hear all of this stuff, man, and lift and shift and cloud first and mobile this and blah, blah, blah. And mobile first there's a real initiative that actually goes into that buzz term. And there's a right and a wrong way to get it right and to really focus on it. And it sounds like that's where you put your effort into, and that's going to set you apart in a major way for anyone that's not doing that. Or if that's not their focus, you know, you're going to become the category king if you haven't already. Super powerful.
Yeah, there's been a lot of hype around that product. I know there's been a lot of people waiting on it, but to speak to your point, that's exactly what our focus was. We've seen all these companies bring products to market, and the physical product, while it worked, they're using generic kind of white labeled mobile applications to control them, and really they missed the entire point of what the product actually is and how people use it. So yeah, from the beginning, we know that we're a product company. We're not a software company. I am not a coder. I don't have any plans to be a coder. So being able to go to work and partner with a company that strictly does software was a giant help for us. Not only that, but also on the maintenance side of things. If you're in technology, you know the maintenance cost and resources, whether that's, you know, money or manpower, I guess, to, you know, keep up with iOS versions and Android versions, and to go back in and tweak this or tweak that and make updates. A lot of companies that are trying to do that all under one roof, they cannot keep pace with the physical product and the mobile software. So
yeah, it's two separate companies. I think it's you've hit the nail on the head there, right. And the fact that you guys are addressing it the way you are, like, just in this conversation with you, I don't need to know much about your products to be a 110% believer, and I have full buy-in to what you guys are doing. I'm not even sure I want to hear what anybody else is doing because I could probably not care that much. You're doing the right things by the customer. You're just taking care of them. You're not even asking any questions. Mm-hmm. Look, it was stolen. Boom. You get, if it's a registered product, you get one opportunity to claim that as attacked by a bear, stolen, shot, whatever. We got your back. You're good to go. The next one's what, 50% off? Is that how it works?
That's it. You got it. 100%.
It's just beautiful, man. It's just a beautiful thing. And then boom, hey, tell you what, we're going to give it to you at a price that no one else can really beat. And maybe that's true today, and that'll change in the future. Your intent is in the right place, as you had mentioned, and then you're doing things on a technology front that are aligned with people's behaviors in a 2019, 2020 world where, dude, no one's. Look, if I have to like go, here's the thing. I'm a busy guy. I got a child. We got one on the way. I do this podcast. I have an app. I work full time. I do all these things, and hunting is like, you know, my lifeblood. It's in my bones. But if I can take marching out to the woods to go get an SD card to bring, you know, and I know there's ways to check that on your phone now. Like I have a promo code on here for a common hunter. By the way, if you're doing things that way and you're going to plop in an SD card, 15% off at Common Hunter is going to get you something great to view that on your phone in the field. But to skip all of that and just get it over a cell network from Verizon, which they are the best. Someone could argue with me on that if they'd like to. There's no argument. You're making everything so damn easy, and then the interface is so intuitive from everything you're telling me that because you focus on it that way and you've realized that that's not what you guys do, you're focusing on the product. So what you're not divesting yourselves into two different areas and spreading yourself too thin. I mean, you guys are just killing it, man. I mean, if the people that are watching, which, you know, for whatever reason it's a lower live viewing session, that's fine. We we pump this into podcast form next, so it'll live evergreen. The people that hear this episode, they ought to be believers, and if not, they need to really start considering you as a contender to anything else that they're using to add to their arsenal.
Well, we appreciate the kind words, man.
I can help myself. I don't even, you're just speaking my language.
Well, again, it's, a lot of us are, we share a common passion. And obviously with that passion, a lot of us have a similar thought process, and regardless of what that, where those thoughts take us, a lot of our views align, and it was just a matter of us kind of following our love for cameras, figuring out, solving that longevity problem for the business model, and, keeping those, and just staying true to the path, staying true to the course, doing what we were saying we were going to do, and just kind of keeping our feet on the ground. It's don't get me wrong, it's not all glitz and glamour. There's a crap ton of labor, a lot of work, long hours.
Trade shows,
but at the end of the day, yeah, man. At the end of the day, that's it.
That's pretty rad. One thing I do here on the show is I do ask, so do you hunt public land or do you hunt private land?
Well, it's a good question. I grew up hunting private ground. Grew up in a family of hunters, kind of recreational hunters, more so than serious whitetail guys. The traditional thing was during gun week, everyone would take the first couple of days off work. Kids would take a couple of days off school. We would all shotgun hunt or party hunt. And that was kind of it, and if someone didn't feel like tag, they'd go back out during muzzleloader season. And I kind of got bored with that. At 16, I killed a Boone and Crockett caliber deer.
Okay. In Ohio.
And it kind of lit me on in Ohio. And it just lit me on fire to try to replicate that process. So at the following year at 17 was my first year archery hunting. And it took me 10 years before I killed another deer like that off that farm. But then at 28 or 29, I took a trip out west and with my grandfather to do a DIY elk hunt on public ground, and fell in love with like the adventure style, the vast landscapes, just being in places that made me feel like I was wild. Like it took me back, 100 years where people, where men were men, so to speak. And I came back and hunted that farm that whitetail season, and I could hear, tractors start up at the barn, and I could see the barn light come on and dogs bark. And I was just like sitting in a tree stand thinking, what the heck am I doing here? Like, this 2 months ago, I was in Colorado in the Rockies, and hundreds of thousands of acres where I could go anywhere I want. Like, it's just, I don't know. There has to be more. I got to be able to hunt whitetails like that. So the following year, I ventured to the southern part of the state and started chasing whitetails on whatever 60,000 plus acres of kind of big woods timber country in the foothills of the Appalachians, and have been doing that pretty much ever since.
That's incredible. So okay, are you the owner, founder of Exodus? So I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, both co-founder and co-owner.
Got it. So as the co-founder, co-owner of a awesome trail cam company, how are you using your trail cams for success on public property in the Appalachian Trail area? Like, what does that look like for you? What setup are you running coming from the man?
Well, I am running a lot of cameras, number one. Obviously, I have them at my disposal. But the scary thing is when you're running a lot of cameras like that, I've spent my time trying to hunt specific deer, specific big woods deer on those large tracks, which is nearly impossible. It took me a couple of years to kind of figure it out, and it correlates back to annual data around the rut. So creating data logs on specific deer in specific areas, it's not always on the same camera, but typically, within a couple ridges. A lot of times it will be on the same camera, but what we saw was that these mature deer would be in the same place at nearly the same time the following year, assuming, all outside influences were equal. So pressure, habitat, food sources, things of that nature. And it's almost scary how precise that is. I know a lot of people may think that that's kind of nonsense or hearsay, or it sounds crazy. But we've seen it year over year over year with not one deer, but multiple. Not every deer, but the vast majority of the 4 and 5, 6-year-old deer that have followed for, more than 1 year, 2 years. We see that pattern, and that's typically how I'm now using my cameras. I will let my cameras, I'll set them up in correlation to doe bedding areas, terrain features like benches and saddles, pinch points, funnels, and early in the season I will run them on what I think are buck beds in hill country, so that upper 1/3 on points, wherever I can find them, and use the data from the previous year in my hunting in the existing season. So I leave my cameras out. I leave them out 365. I never pull them. Just put batteries and SD cards in them, and I let them run.
Okay, so I got to ask, because you have them at your disposal, how many are you running? Do you feel comfortable telling us?
I'm over 50 plus cameras down there on that specific track. Somewhere between 75 and 100.
What do you do with all the data? Like, how are you controlling that? Like, I know I've heard of things like Deer Lab. I think there's others like that. Hunter Site is one that I think is starting to do some things like that. Are you using any third-party software to analyze the data of that much input coming in?
Yes. So typically what I will do, I'm not out there obviously every week checking cards. It's nearly impossible.
Right. Yeah.
There are specific cameras I'll check it. Yeah. Onyx Maps is a yes. Giant help. I mean, if you were to look at my screen on my phone, there's nothing but red pins everywhere. But to answer your question, I am using third-party software. We do use Deer Lab. We've been using it for three plus years now. It's a giant help to organize that data. But at the same time, I also have just folders on my desktop with specific deer profiles. And then also, I need to take better notes. That's something that has kind of been on my agenda for this year, just to carry a journal to log some things in. But the specific thing, like when you're looking at, guys get caught up in when they pull their SD cards and they're going through their photos and they get a picture of a big deer, everyone gets amazed and they get all fired up and they forget to ask themselves the why, where, and how that deer got there.
Yep.
So there's a few specific questions that when I look at a picture, I'm asking myself, okay, where is he coming from? Where is he going? Why is he there? Was there outside influences? Was it pressure? Was it human intrusion? Could it have been a coyote? Is it a natural movement? What was the wind doing? What's barometric pressure? What's, all of it. Take in all of it. And then try to correlate some type of pattern. Now, Deer Lab is a great tool for that. And like you said, there's multiple third-party software applications out there now. So that is a part of it. But most guys, when they're using that kind of tactic, typically, guys they have maybe 2 weeks vacation or maybe even 1 week or whatever, and they're trying to focus their efforts around the rut. So with specific rut data, we're looking even at does as in how they're acting in front of the camera. Are they pushing off their fawns? Are they by themselves? Is their tail tucked? If it's on a scrape, how are those deer interacting with a scrape and a licking branch? All of that. So there's no shoebox answer, I don't think, for any of it. But just to ask yourselves the specific questions to try and understand why the deer is in front of the camera, and where he originated from and where the destination is. Those few things will kind of allow you to take your trail camera strategies, I guess, and how you're gathering or what you're getting from that data kind of to the next level.
That's a great answer to all of that. The asking yourself that question: where are they going? Why are they there? Where'd they come from? In whatever order that looks like. Um, because if you see something, yeah, that's it. I would just go to straight excitement and enthusiasm and be like, "Holy shit!" And then sharing on social, right? Like, "Oh my god, look at this! Here
Yeah,
it is!
right.
Can't wait to get this guy this year." And on public land, that's totally different because obviously, he's fair game for anybody, and maybe you wouldn't share any of that information. I was out on public access to private property for last deer season here in Wisconsin through a draw program to some conservancy property, and there were a number of trail cams that I ran into. I think I hit like 8 of them, and so I thought that was kind of interesting because it's private property, but there's public access, so there's a different set of rules on that type of scenario. You want to play nice and do well and follow rules and things of that nature, so you can have an opportunity to be on that land again. It was a super hot spot of land. I saw more buck activity there than in my entire history of hunting. It was incredible. And to say that, knowing that I avoided 8 trail cameras and 8 other hunters, made me feel really good. It affirmed some of the things I've been learning over the past couple of years. But yeah, how many pictures do you get with those 75 trail cams running of other hunters? Like, what's the weirdest thing you've caught or that you've seen from some of your audience, or like client base?
Um, I mean, we've seen some weird stuff from our customers, just user submitted stuff they send us on Facebook and whatnot. Personally, I'm in that area it's a little bit strange. It's very rugged terrain, not what you would think of when you think of Ohio. Very short ridges, very steep hills, and not a lot of walk-in access or trailheads, road access, anything like that. And the deer density is super low. I mean, like 1.3, 1.4 deer per square mile.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of guys going in there to hunt, unless they're pretty darn serious. Because the one thing that it does offer is out of the world age structure. I don't know that there's, for people who are chasing Boone and Crockett type deer. I'm not sure there's a better piece of public, probably anywhere outside of Iowa, maybe. So that's, the age structure and the caliber of deer is what brings me there. If you want to kill those kind of deer, you have to go where they are. So occasionally we will get people on camera walking in, but typically it's not more than a quarter mile, maybe a half mile. Off a parking area or off a trail.
Okay, so nothing,
and the one thing,
nothing too ridiculous.
No, nothing. Yeah, no. It's It's not a super high pressure area because there's not a lot of deer. In fact, I've spent an entire week there during the rut and have laid my eyes on 120-inch buck for 7 days. So it's an area that takes extreme mental discipline to hunt, because you will second guess yourself. Whether or not you're screwing up. Did I bump deer on the way in? Is the wind wrong? Is it swirling? Is it doing, there's all kinds of things you could beat yourself up mentally, because you could be doing.
Ooh, looks like I lost you here real quick. I'm going to pause this and we'll come right back. Hang tight, peeps, while I get them back on the line here. I'm not sure what I did wrong. Darn. Technology, folks. I'm going to end this